On the day of my brother's sentencing hearing for a DUI crash, my neighbor thought it would be funny to post flyers around town claiming I was the one being sentenced. I stayed silent, collected the flyers, and presented them in court as evidence of harassment. He was slapped with a $50,000 defamation lawsuit, and the entire town watched him hand over the settlement in a mandatory public apology event. I never thought I'd be the kind of person writing something like this. I'm not dramatic. I don't stir the pot. I work, I take care of my home, and I mind my business. But some people can't help themselves. And when they push the wrong person, they find out what real consequences feel like. My brother Cody has always been the wild one. Not a bad person, just reckless. The kind of guy who acts first and thinks later. About a year ago, he made the biggest mistake of his life. He got drunk at a party and decided to drive home. On his way back, he ran a stop sign and slammed into a woman's car at an intersection. She was hurt pretty bad, though thankfully, she recovered after a few surgeries. Cody was arrested on the spot. Our family was crushed. My parents were furious and heartbroken. Cody owned up immediately. No excuses. No denial. He pled guilty and braced for the consequences. By the time his sentencing hearing came around, the whole town of Colony, New York, just outside Albany, knew about it. Small towns don't keep secrets long. And while some folks offered support, others gossiped like it was their full-time job. I expected whispers. I expected side eyes. What I didn't expect was Brad. Brad lived 2 doors down. Early 40s. Balding. Had a big gut and an even bigger mouth. He worked nights at a warehouse and spent his days nitpicking other people's lives. For years he'd been a thorn in my side. He complained when my grass got too tall. He whined if my trash bins were at the curb too early. Once, he even called code enforcement because I had a camper parked in my driveway for a week. Real petty stuff. But none of that prepared me for what he did next. Apparently, Brad had some long-standing grudge against my brother. Cody had once dated Brad's niece, Erin. She cheated on Cody with some guy from Albany, and when Cody broke up with her, Erin played the victim. Brad had been cold to my family ever since. But cold shoulders are one thing. What Brad did crossed the line into pure malice. 2 days before Cody's sentencing, I woke up early to head to work. I grabbed my coffee, stepped outside, and froze. There was a flyer taped to the stop sign at the corner. DUI criminal, my name, sentencing this Friday. Lock up your kids. My name. My face. A photo pulled from my Facebook, printed in black and white. At first I thought it was some kind of sick joke. I ripped it down and shoved it into my glove compartment. But as I drove through town, my stomach sank. There were dozens of them. On telephone poles. On the gas station window. Even on the church bulletin board. It looked official. Bold letters. My name in all caps. People were staring at me at red lights. A couple walking their dog crossed the street to avoid me. By the time I reached work, my hands were shaking. I could have gone straight to Brad's house. I could have screamed in his face. But something told me to stay calm. I'd been in this town long enough to know that fighting fire with fire just makes a bigger fire. Instead, I started collecting evidence. I took photos of every flyer. I wore gloves so no one could say I tampered with them. Then I went to the diner, the gas station, and the library. All 3 had flyers either inside or nearby. I asked if they had security footage from the night before. The diner's manager, Cheryl, was sympathetic. She let me review the tapes. At 2:13 a.m., a man in a hoodie plastered the flyer on the diner window. The hoodie didn't hide much. The guy had distinct tattoos on his hands. Brad's tattoos. A faded skull on one knuckle and a wrench on the other. At the gas station, no cameras. At the library, the footage was too grainy. But it didn't matter. The diner footage was gold. I wasn't done. I drove to the 24-hour print shop over by Wolf Road. After a little back and forth, the clerk admitted that someone matching Brad's description had printed a large batch of black and white flyers off a USB stick just after midnight. Paid in cash. I didn't need more. I gathered 28 physical flyers, timestamped photos of where I found them, diner security footage, a witness statement from the print shop clerk. I also pulled my Facebook activity log to prove I hadn't posted or shared anything close to what the flyers claimed. Then I called a lawyer. The temptation to confront Brad nearly ate me alive. Every time I saw him mowing his lawn or sitting on his porch, grinning like he didn't have a care in the world, I wanted to tell him I knew. But patience is power. My lawyer filed for a defamation lawsuit and suggested we wait until Cody's sentencing hearing to reveal the evidence. That way, the judge and the public would see the full picture. Cody's sentencing drew a crowd. Local reporters even showed up. Small-town courtrooms get packed fast when the gossip mill runs hot. Cody took his sentence bravely. 18 months in county jail. 5 years probation. No arguments. No tears. Then my lawyer stood up. Your Honor, before court adjourns, my client would like to submit evidence of a serious defamation and harassment matter related to this case. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Parson, nodded. We presented the flyers, the photos, the footage, and the witness statement. When Brad's name came up, heads turned. People started murmuring. Judge Parson ordered Brad to approach the bench. I'll never forget his face. Smug 1 second, sheet white the next. Brad tried to play it off. It was a joke, he said. Just some small-town humor. The judge didn't laugh. Neither did the community. My lawyer filed the civil defamation lawsuit the same day. The evidence was so overwhelming that Brad's lawyer didn't even try to fight it in full. They tried to negotiate the damages down, but we held firm. Brad was ordered to pay $50,000. Because the harassment was so public, the judge agreed with our request for a mandatory public apology. She even approved the community center as the venue. The flyers announcing the apology looked a lot like Brad's original ones. Poetic, right? Over 200 people showed up. Neighbors, friends, coworkers, even folks who barely knew us but loved a good public drama. Brad stood on the stage. His voice trembled as he read the statement my lawyer had drafted. I knowingly spread false, harmful accusations about my name. My actions caused real damage to his reputation and well-being. What I did was malicious and unjustifiable. I sincerely apologize to my name, his family, and the entire community. The crowd stayed silent. No applause. No sympathy. Even his so-called friends from the VFW turned their backs. Brad had to pay $10,000 up front. The remaining $40,000 is garnished from his paycheck monthly. I still live in the same house. Cody's out of jail and working construction now. He's been sober since. Brad? He can't even walk into the grocery store without people whispering. His niece, Erin, moved to Syracuse, probably out of embarrassment. Every month, when his payment hits my account, the memo line says, per court order. I print them out and keep them in a folder labeled Brad's donations. You'd think that after paying out $50,000 and standing in front of half the town to apologize, Brad would have learned his lesson. But small men with big egos don't change that easily. For a couple months after the public apology, things stayed quiet. Brad kept his head down. He didn't wave when we passed. Fine by me. But by late spring, little things started happening. One morning, I found a nail jammed into my back tire. Could have been random, except it happened 3 times in 2 weeks. Always the same type of nail. Then there were the anonymous calls to the town code office. Claims that my shed was too close to the property line. That my grass was overgrown again. That my camper was an eyesore. Every complaint traced back to the same number. Brad's. I documented everything. I installed cameras. I kept the code violation letters. I saved the voicemails. And once again, I stayed silent. No yelling matches. No warnings. The town had an annual summer block party. Food trucks, games, music. I'd helped organize it for years. This year, a week before the event, someone spray painted "Drunk Driver Supporter" across my garage door in red paint. It was early morning. A neighbor walking her dog saw it and called me. I stood there staring at the mess. I didn't even feel rage anymore. Just cold determination. By noon, I had the footage. Brad. Hoodie. Same tattoos. Same stupid swagger. But this time? Vandalism was a criminal offense. Not just civil like the flyers. I handed everything to my lawyer and the police. They arrested Brad 2 days later. He tried to deny it, but the video was crystal clear. Plus, his spray paint cans matched the color and type used on my garage. He was charged with property damage and harassment. I didn't just sit back this time. At the next town council meeting, I spoke during public comment. We've tolerated this man's harassment long enough. First, he defamed me during my brother's sentencing. Then, he tried to sabotage my property and reputation again. This is a pattern, not a one-time mistake. Neighbors backed me up. Even some folks who'd once been neutral or friendly with Brad. The council banned Brad from participating in town events for 2 years. The judge in the vandalism case slapped him with probation, community service, and ordered restitution for the damage. Another $5,000 out of his pocket. By now, Brad's warehouse job barely covered his debts. His house went up for sale within weeks. Here's the part one didn't see coming. Brad's niece Erin, the same one who cheated on Cody and helped start this whole mess, showed up at my door one night. She looked different. Worn down. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. For everything. For Brad. For what I did to Cody." Apparently, Erin had no idea Brad had taken things so far. She moved back to Colony because her marriage fell apart, and she wanted to make amends. I told her flatly, "Your uncle nearly ruined my life. Your apology doesn't change that." She nodded and left. I haven't heard from her since. Brad's house sold. He moved to Scroon Lake. Word is, he's living in a rundown trailer and working odd jobs. Cody's been sober for over a year now. He joined a peer counseling group to help other guys avoid the mistakes he made. As for me, the garage has been repainted. The flyers are still in a folder labeled "Evidence, in case he tries again." The monthly payments from Brad ended once he sold the house and paid off the remaining balance in a lump sum. But the damage he did to his own life? That'll stick a lot longer than any court order. 3 months after Brad moved, things were peaceful. My cameras never caught a thing. No more slashed tires. No flyers. No vandalism. Cody was doing well at his new job. I even started dating someone. Then, just before Thanksgiving, my lawyer called. "You're not going to like this," he said. "Brad's trying to file a countersuit. Claims you harassed him by turning the town against him and causing him emotional distress." It was laughable. Except in civil court, people can try almost anything if they pay the filing fees. Brad's claim was that my public humiliation campaign, his words, made it impossible for him to keep steady work or stay in the community. He also claimed I encouraged neighbors to harass him, though he provided zero evidence. But here's the thing about poking the bear twice: the bear comes back bigger. My lawyer and I gathered the police reports Brad had racked up: harassment, vandalism, property damage. The previous civil judgment where he admitted fault. Witness statements from multiple neighbors confirming I never told or encouraged anyone to harass him. Security footage logs showing Brad trespassed and damaged my property without provocation. We filed for dismissal and countered with a malicious prosecution claim, basically, suing him for abusing the court system to harass me again. The judge threw out Brad's claim in under 20 minutes. Then she approved my malicious prosecution suit. Brad showed up to court looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. Thin, dirty work boots. Same tattoos. Same stubborn scowl. When the judgment came down, it was brutal. $25,000 in damages to cover my legal fees and time. A restraining order preventing Brad from contacting me, my family, or stepping foot in Colony for the next 10 years. He tried to argue he couldn't pay. The judge didn't care. You've turned this man's life into a punching bag for over a year. Actions have consequences. You don't get to cry poverty now. Since Brad had already sold his house and burned through most of his savings paying the last lawsuit and restitution, the judge ordered wage garnishment again. At this point, his checks were going to 2 people, his ex-wife, child support, and me. After the judgment, Brad disappeared. His niece said he moved to Florida to pick up work in roofing and construction. Some small town in the Panhandle where no one knew him. I haven't heard from him since. His payments come in like clockwork now, small amounts, garnished automatically. Cody's sober 2 years this spring. He got engaged. I'm his best man. As for me? I kept every flyer, every court document, every payment stub. Not because I want to hold a grudge forever, but because people like Brad think they can rewrite history when enough time passes. Not this time. If he, or anyone else, ever tries to smear my name again, they'll learn what Brad learned: a joke can be funny. A lie can cost you everything.